Hi, Shane here. You're watching Sam for God, and this is Mark. Check her out.
So hi guys, how are you doing? Firstly, I understand this is a bit of a weird angle. Trust me, I've been spending the past 5 minutes trying to sort the camera situation out because natural lighting, so the window is just behind you guys right now. We're in 2020, as you guys probably already know because we're in February now, and that obviously means that a whole new decade has started. Now, towards the end of last year, I was looking back at all the Disney films that came out in the past decade, and I realized that a lot of really good films, Disney-wise, came out from 2010 to 2020. Like, a lot of them. Some of them I didn't even realize had come out in the last decade. I thought they were older. So what I thought I would do today, and it's a very difficult task, I thought I'd let you know what my favorite top 10 Disney films are from the past decade. When I say Disney films, I do mean both live action and animated, but here's a spoiler for you, none of the films in my top 10 are live action ones, they're all animated. So yeah, I just thought we'd have this very chilled video of me just going through my top 10 favorite Disney films of the past decade, telling you a little bit about them and why I chose them, because like I said, it wasn't easy. I think, to be honest, it was quite easy to narrow them down to like 10 films, but to then put those films in order was very difficult. Yeah. I do have my phone here with me because I'm going to have to go through the list on here because I don't remember them. I have a feeling this video might be quite long, so if you want to, I don't know, grab yourself a coffee or a donut, or I don't know, maybe just some chicken nuggets, do that. Let's get the video started. So we're gonna start with number 10, of course, because we're gonna move up to number 1, and at number 10 I've put Tangled. So Tangled, hilariously enough, came out in 2010, so right at the beginning of that decade. I don't really even remember going to the cinema to watch it, to be honest. I feel like I never saw it in the cinema. I think I just waited for it to come on like DVD. I have seen it quite a few times though since, obviously, and I do really enjoy it. It's not one of my favorite Disney films, but I've grown to really love it. I think it's one of those films that, even though I've probably only watched the film itself like maybe twice in full, the characters in it are so good that it's become a very memorable one for me. I mean, Rapunzel is great. The songs in Tangled are so good. See the Light, you know, the song that Rapunzel and Flynn sing, is so beautiful. And that scene in the film as well is such a beautiful animated scene. Flynn Rider is probably one of my favorite Disney princes. He's just so fit and annoying but beautiful at the same time. Like, he's such a cheeky guy, and I just think he's very handsome, okay? Yeah, it's a weird one, Tangled, but I feel like it deserved its spot in the top 10. I feel like I couldn't have not included it because it's become such an iconic film throughout Disney, really, in Disney history since its release in 2010, that you had to make it somewhere. And I love the characters in it. I mean, they're all great, and both Flynn and Rapunzel are really fun characters to meet as well when you meet them in Disney parks. So yeah. Number 9 on my top 10 Disney films of the past decade is Moana. Such a good film, right? I went to see Moana in the cinemas when it came out, and I think it came out in 2016, so one of the more recent ones, and I remember really enjoying it. Moana as a character, I just fell in love with straight away. She's so fun and independent and a go-getter, and I just think she's such a great role model for children as well. The songs in Moana, I think, are beautiful. The animation just like was so beautiful when I first saw it in the cinema, obviously, like in the big screen. The water elements of it, the characters, the Hey Hey is so hilarious. I mean, who doesn't enjoy a bit of Hey Hey? He's just a laugh aloud moment. It's a good one, Moana, and I'm really happy that it seems to still be quite popular and people still seem to enjoy her and her film. And I'm not gonna lie, I would like to see a Moana 2 one day. I really liked, one thing I loved about Moana was that there was no love interest. Like, I loved that it was all about her journey, really. Like, it was about her and what she wanted to do with her life and like her family, and so good. Number 8 on this list is Finding Dory. Surprise, we have our first Pixar film. Finding Dory came out in 2016, and funnily enough, it actually came out on my birthday, so I'm pretty sure in the UK anyway, it came out on the 29th of July 2016. Sorry about the noise outside. I saw it, I think, either twice or 3 times in the cinema because I enjoyed it that much. I went to see it with a friend once, and I went to see it with my mum because Dory as a character reminds me of my mum. She is so special. I love Dory. I think she's fantastic, and Ellen DeGeneres has such a perfect voice for Dory. The character of Dory, I mean, I know some people, and I find it so weird, there are some people out there, trust me, I've met them, who find Dory annoying. If you're one of those people, like, please explain down below why, because I find her so endearing. I feel like Dory is just like, you can't not love the girl, like, or the fish. She is hilarious, she's so endearing, and she's so funny. And when it was announced that they were going to make Finding Dory, I was so excited because she was such a lovable character in Finding Nemo. And yeah, I was a bit worried as well that Finding Dory might let us down, because sometimes sequels can do that. But no, I was pleasantly surprised. I thought they did a really good job with Finding Dory. Do I prefer it to Finding Nemo? Probably not, but I still think it's a really good film. And Dory, I mean, she's so cute, and seeing her as a child and her journey and all the new characters that they introduced in Finding Dory, I just loved it. Number 7 on this list, I've put Big Hero 6. Now, Big Hero 6 came out in 2014, which honestly to me, it feels like it was only a few years ago, but 2014, that's 6 years ago that it came out. Time just flies. I remember going to see that in the cinema as well. I actually went with my friend Rebecca, so shout out to you, Rebecca, if you're watching. Might have watched that twice as well, I can't remember. But what I do remember is I fell in love with Baymax's character straight away. He is so great. I mean, I don't understand why he doesn't get more love, because he's everything you'd want from like a character, a Disney character. He's such, I mean, honestly, like if I could have a Baymax here with me, I would obviously say yes to it. In fact, if somebody told me of all the Disney characters in the world, which character would you want to have in your life, I would probably say Baymax. He's funny, he's there for you, he's huggable, he's just, oh, I love him so much. But it's not just about Baymax either. I feel like Big Hero 6 is a very underrated film. I don't understand why. I think probably because it came out around the same time as films like Frozen and stuff, but it deserved so much more hype in my opinion, because the whole film is great. And I'm not like the biggest fan of superhero films, I'm just not really into them, but even with that mindset, I thought it was a fantastic film. I loved Hiro and Tadashi, the brother. I loved everyone in the team, in the superhero team. I thought there was just enough of like action to please people who enjoy superhero films, but not too much to like discriminate against people who aren't really into like a lot of action and superhero stuff, you know. There was a lot of heart in it. Like Big Hero 6 makes me cry every single time. It is beautiful, it plays with your emotions, and yeah, the animation is great. It's just done so well. Oh, I love it. I love the setting of it. I love where it's set in San Francisco. I think that's really cool, very clever. I love the song that Fall Out Boy have done for it. Really cool song, check it out if you haven't. Yeah, love it. That's my number 7. Number 6 on my list of the top 10 best Disney films of the past decade is Zootopia / Zootropolis, as is known in Europe. This film is so good, and I feel like it's another one of the underrated ones. I saw this film in the cinema 3 times. 3 times. That's how much I enjoyed it. The character of Judy Hopps, right, in this film is just so great. Everybody needs to be more like Judy Hopps. She is a great role model. I love how she doesn't give up. She wants to be what she wants to be, and she just goes for it, and I think that's so great. She's cute, she's passionate, she is kind, and I mean, that's just Judy Hopps. We also have Nick Wilde, of course, in this film, who is probably one of my biggest Disney crushes. He is so good looking, he's so fit, his eyebrows just look so good. I'm joking, there's more to him than just his looks. He's funny. I mean, I don't want to spoil the film if you haven't for some reason seen the film, and if you haven't, go and watch it please, because it's a really good film. But Nick Wilde's journey in the film is so beautiful to watch, and just like kind of his journey with Judy Hopps as well together. All the other animals in this film as well. This film is so great. There are some hilarious moments. Like, it's so clever, it's so colourful, it's beautiful. Oh my god, it's such a great film. I don't understand why more people don't talk about this. I think it's probably one of the best Disney films that Disney have done on their own without Pixar in the past decade, and I appreciate it. I'd love to see more of them. Like, I wish there was like a Zootropolis, I don't know, ride in a Disney park, or I wish it was easier to meet the Zootropolis characters around Disney parks. I know you can meet them in some Disney parks around the world, but I just want more of them, you know. They're so good. Number 5, right, listen, I know just a few minutes ago I was talking about how overly popular and overly hyped this film is, but there's a reason that it has all the hype, and so my number 5 film on this list is indeed Frozen. I don't care if you think Let It Go is overplayed and you're just sick of hearing it everywhere, and you're sick of seeing Anna and Elsa in all the toy shops that you go to. I don't care if the word Frozen triggers you because you've just heard it so many times. It doesn't take away from the film. Like, when the film first came out, everyone loved it, and I know a lot of people are tired of it now, but you have to take a step back and like go back to the actual film itself, and not like the hype that's kind of surrounding it now. Think of it as a film and try and remember your reactions to it when you first saw saw it. I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away when I saw Frozen, and I remember like raving about it so much when it first came out. And for me, one of the main reasons that I loved it so much was the story of two sisters, and the fact that, again, it was one of the very first, in fact it might have been the first kind of Disney princess film that did not really like focus on like romantic love, and it was about the sisters' love and their bond and the friendship that the sisters had. And I just thought that was so great. It was it was a turning point for Disney, in my opinion, and that's why it's still an iconic film. I think it will stay an iconic film in the history of Disney for years to come. Anna and Elsa are phenomenal characters. Anna especially, I think, is such a relatable character. She was such a breath of fresh air when we first saw her on our screens back in 2013 when it came out. Finally, there was a princess that a lot of people could actually relate to, and they could look at and be like, yeah, like, she's a bit of us. Elsa, so beautiful. Her animation, her story, what she has to go through when, like, the scene Let It Go. I don't care if you're sick of the song now. It doesn't make it a bad song, though. It's still an incredible song, powerful song, beautiful animation of that song, you know, when Elsa sings it in the first film. I love it. I think it's a great film. I think the twist in it is really fun as well. The songs are great. I don't understand how people cannot love Frozen. Like, it's not a perfect film, but it is a really good film, and it was definitely an iconic film for Disney, and for that reason I had to give it the number 5 spot on this list. Number 4 on this list of Disney films of the past decade is the second Pixar film that you will see on this list, and that is Coco. Coco came out in the cinemas in 2017, so not too long ago. I went and saw it in the cinema with a couple of my friends, and literally all 3 of us were crying by the end of it, and that has been a theme ever since. I've seen this film like 2 or 3 more times since. I've watched it with friends, I've watched it with my family, and every single time I cry, fully cry. It's so beautiful. And again, Coco is a surprising one, because before I went to see it I didn't think I was going to love it so much, because I wasn't sure what it was going to be about. But I think the theme of Coco again is about families and about death. Like, it touches on some really serious topics that I really admire Disney for, like, discussing and looking at in a cartoon, I guess, in a film that is meant to be for children and adults. It's beautiful the way it makes you think about death and about your ancestors and generations and your grandparents and what happens when you do die. I personally related to it a lot because my grandma died of dementia, Alzheimer's, a few years ago, and Coco in the film has dementia as well, so that is very beautiful and special to me, I guess. Miguel as a character is so cute, so likable, and the animation in this film is stunning. It's beautiful. It's literally like a visual feast in some of the scenes, and the story is so great. I did not expect the twist at all. No one I've seen this film with so far has been able to fully like predict the twist in it. I think it's so great. I mean, I've always been fascinated by Mexico as well. I've been wanting to go for a long time, and watching Coco has made me want to go even more, and I would love to visit Mexico one day during the Day of the Dead celebration that they have. I just think that whatever they, basically Pixar, one thing Pixar are like phenomenal at is like coming up with really cool ideas, and the way they envisioned like life after death in Coco is just beautiful. Like the system, like what happens to people, and to kind of put that into a film and make it into it's just like, I can't even. It's such a beautiful film. Please go and see Coco if you haven't. I feel like I'm getting too emotional, guys. I need to calm down. But before I can do that, we are in my last 3 now, my top 3 favorite Disney films of the past decade. Before I tell you my top 3, I would quite like you guys to have a guess maybe down below and let me know if you can guess at least one of them, and then watch it and let me know if you were right. Okay, so my number 3 favorite Disney film of the past decade is Toy Story 3. Of course I had to include some Toy Story in here, and Toy Story 3 is up there. It's one of my faves. Toy Story 3 came out in 2010, so again at the start of the last decade. I remember seeing it in the cinema, and I think I saw it in Vienna actually. I wasn't living in Vienna at the time, but I think I might have been in Vienna. I don't know, I can't remember where I saw it. All I remember is that I was in tears, like full on crying. It's probably the most I've cried in a cinema actually ever. I was like wet, like my face was, I could not like cope with life at the end of that film. And I've seen it a few more times since, of course, and it always touches my heart. I feel like it was really special to see it for me at the time when it did come out in 2010, because I grew up with Toy Story. I was about 5 or 6 when Toy Story 1 came out, so I was at the perfect age for the first Toy Story, and then I watched Toy Story 2 obviously a few years later, and I was like, Toy Story has always been my favorite film of all time anyway. Like, I absolutely adore Woody and Buzz and everyone. And in 2010 when Toy Story Story 3 came out, I was at university and I was more or less the same age as Andy in the film. So I felt like I'd grown up with Andy. You know, Andy was a child when I was a child, and suddenly in 2010 with Toy Story 3, Andy was going to college or university and he had to get rid of his toys, and that was so relatable to me because I'd been there, I'd done that, and it was such a... It's such a beautiful film, guys. The animation in it is phenomenal compared to like the earlier Toy Stories, and the story's really cool, very interesting. Not gonna lie, I'm not the biggest fan of Lotso, but aside from him, it's such a great film. It's just beautiful, and the message in it is beautiful. It's just beautiful to see kind of a very natural end to, I guess, their lives with Andy, and so good. Number 2, now having just talked about Toy Story 3, number 2 on this list is of course Toy Story 4. Toy Story 4, I mean, you can see I'm wearing a Toy Story 4 t-shirt right here. Toy Story 4 came out in 2019, summer of last year, and I was really skeptical about it, guys. I'm not gonna lie, before it came out I wasn't sure whether or not it should have been happening. Like, I'm a big Toy Story fan, and because I love the franchise so much, I was a little bit worried that making a 4th one would ruin things a little bit because the 3rd film had been so perfect and a perfect ending. But I didn't need to worry because they introduced a phenomenal character in Toy Story 4 called Forky. Do I have him here? No, sadly I don't, but Forky just was a game changer, I feel like, and I'm happy Toy Story 4 was made just because it meant that they could make the character of Forky, but it's about more than that. I saw Toy Story 4 times in the cinema. That is probably the most amount of times I've ever seen the same film in the cinema, but that's because I honestly loved it. I thought it was perfect, more or less. I thought the story was beautiful. I thought they really found an important story that should have been told. Like, it wasn't that they just made it for the laws because they thought, oh, let's make more money. I mean, don't get me wrong, they probably did also want the money, but the story just felt so right. And I'm a big Woody fan. I know that a lot of people were a bit upset that Toy Story 4 didn't have a lot of buzz in it, but because I love Woody so much, and Toy Story 4 was basically his story. Toy Story 4 was Woody's journey and us finding out what's going to happen to Woody after kind of Andy left him and everything and went to college, and I loved that. I felt like because Woody has always been a special character for me and I really relate to Woody, I feel like a lot of his traits, unfortunately, I have as well, because I don't think Woody is perfect as a character, and to see Woody go on that journey and learn so much and realize that a lot of the things that he was always standing by maybe weren't always right, and that he could find a new way to do things. Like, he opened his mind and he realized that change isn't necessarily a bad thing, and sometimes is actually a good and important thing. I thought that was so great. Of course, I loved Bo Peep. I thought she was great in Toy Story 4. Really glad to see her show more character and be an independent, fierce woman, you know. Ducky and Bunny were hilarious. Gabby here, I thought she was such an interesting character. I was terrified of her at first, but I just loved her, and I loved what happened to her, and I actually loved how there wasn't really a villain in Toy Story 4. I think that's what Pixar's really good at normally. They very rarely have like actual full-on villains in their films. The animation in Toy Story 4 is stunning. Like, I cannot explain to you how beautiful it is, and I think again for that reason alone I'm happy they made it, because to compare Toy Story 4 to Toy Story 1, and don't get me wrong, when Toy Story 1 came out I was so amazed, I was impressed, I could not understand it. To me, when I watched Toy Story as a child, I thought it was real because the animation for that time was so well done, and now when I look back at them and compare them, I'm just amazed at how much technology's improved, and I'm so excited about the future of animation. And Lord have mercy, I need to stop talking, but basically I love Toy Story 4 and I'm really proud of it, and I'm glad that it's on number 2. And finally, my number 1 favorite Disney film of the last decade. Can we have a drum roll, please? Inside Out. Now, if you guessed that right, let me know in the comments down below, because I'd be interested to know if you knew this. But yes, Inside Out is a Pixar film, in case you didn't know, Pixar / Disney, of course, and it came out in the summer of 2015, so right in the middle of the last decade. I saw that one about 2 times, I think, in the cinema, and it was around my birthday as well that it came out, so I think for that reason it was quite special, because it was my 25th birthday, and I can't explain to you how much I love this film. I actually have a review of Inside Out from when I first saw it on my channel from like 5 years ago, so if you want to check it out, I'll leave the link down below. I look a lot different, I look much younger than I do now, but I remember straight away from seeing it the first time, I was in love with the film. And I remember being a bit worried because at the time I thought, oh my god, do I love this film more than I love Toy Story? I don't. I still feel like Toy Story has a more of a special place in my heart than Inside Out does. But Inside Out has become one of my absolute favorite Disney/Pixar films now, and it is, in my opinion, the best film that Disney have made in the past 10 years. I think it's so clever. I feel like just the thought process behind this film, it's a concept that could have easily not worked. Like, if they'd been a bit lousy with it and not thought it through properly or not been creative enough with it, it could have just been a stupid film. But they made it work somehow, and that's what Pixar always do. They're somehow capable of making every bizarre and weird concept work. The characters in this film are beautiful. The whole idea behind it, like seeing the brain and what in Pixar animators like opinion the brain looks like, and how we feel things, and like sadness and joy. And I mean, I remember when I first saw the film, I was so annoyed at Sadness. I used to find her incredibly annoying, and to be fair, she is quite annoying, let's be real. But then you learn to understand that she's important regardless of her being annoying sometimes. Sadness is important, and for me, Inside Out was a turning point completely. I feel like I was a very happy person before the film came out, before that time of my life, you know. I do this because I of course wasn't always happy, but I feel like I had the mentality and opinion in my head that I always need to be happy. Like, I just felt like it wasn't okay to be sad, and if I was sad, I'd try and hide it and not tell anyone that I was sad. I'd try to pretend that I was always happy even if I wasn't. Inside Out made me realize that that's not good. Sadness is actually really important, and it's important to acknowledge your sadness. It's good to cry. It's good to be sad for like even days at a time sometimes. Like, that used to be one of my biggest problems. I used to hate myself if I ever was sad about something for more than like a day. But that's normal and it's good, and I love how Inside Out shows that to you. I feel like it's a film that is so beautifully appealing to both adults and children. I mean, children could go and watch this film and not really understand much about the message of it necessarily, but they would enjoy it because it's so beautifully done. The colors are there, it's funny. There's Bing Bong. I mean, Bing Bong, let's not even talk about him. Lordy, how much did I cry when I first saw him? Don't want to say why or what happens to him or what, you know. I mean, I feel like most of you probably have seen Inside Out, but like, Bing Bong is such a lovable character. Riley's boyfriend, like, in Riley's head, and it's just so clever. I could watch Inside Out every day and not get bored. And this is just the story, like the story itself, the characters, the concept, beautiful, the animation phenomenal. But we haven't even spoken about the soundtrack of Inside Out. In my opinion, one of the best Pixar scores ever written. It's so beautiful. It's so interesting how the music for Inside Out alone can really make you feel so many emotions, and like, I love it so much. And I actually relate to Riley as well in the film, because I've moved a lot in my life, and I think that's a really interesting topic to kind of cover. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like I'm just running out of things to say, but basically Inside Out is a phenomenal film. 10 out of 10. Go and watch it if you haven't, and if you don't like it, actually please leave comments down below, let me know why, because I don't understand why anyone could not like this film, but I'm always open to other people's opinions, so let me know. That is it though, guys. I feel like it's been a pretty long video. I feel like I've gone through all the emotions in the past half an hour that I've been filming. Before I end this video, I do want to give a few shout outs to a couple of the films that I also really enjoyed and loved from the past decade that I couldn't mention in my top 10 because there's only 10 numbers, and obviously I didn't enjoy these ones quite as much as the top 10. But Brave, gotta give a shout out to Brave. Brave came out in 2012 and it's a really bold, it was a really kind of iconic movement for Pixar, because it's still to this day the only princess film that Pixar have released, and I really liked it. It was a really good film. I saw it in the cinema and I still really enjoy it. It's one of my favorite Pixar films, I would say, but obviously, like I said, I couldn't include it in my top 10. Monsters University as well came out around the same year, I think 2013. Really enjoyed it. Again, not enough to put it in my top 10, but I thought it was a really good film. It was just great to see, you know, more of Sully and Mike Wazowski, but see them when they were younger. That was really cute. I do also want to give a shout out to the live action Beauty and the Beast that came out in 2016 or 17, as well as live action of Aladdin that came out last year, because I feel like live action wise they're definitely the two that I have enjoyed the most, and Disney have been making a lot of live action films in the past 10 years, so I wanted to give just a couple of shout outs to a couple of live action films as well, and I think these two deserve it. Mary Poppins Returns as well was quite good, and that came out last year, but none of these live action films are nearly good enough for me to put in my top 10, but I just wanted to give them a shout out, you know. Cool, that is it. I've been talking for a long time. It's literally like getting dark outside now, when I started filming when it was still very much light. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave comments down below and let me know if you, number one, agree with me, and if you don't agree with me, which I think most of you probably won't, because we all have different opinions and that's the beauty of life. Let me know what your top 10 are. So I know it's going to be a difficult task, but think about it. Give me the list down below. Even if you can't necessarily give me a top 10, at least give me like a top 3 or a top 5 or something. Remember, it can be any Disney film that came out in the past decade, and that means from 2010 to 2020. Obviously we're in 2020 now. Thank you for watching, guys. Follow me on Instagram for more content and subscribe for more videos like this. I'm off to Disney World soon, so there'll be a lot of Disney vlogs coming up very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye.